We are looking at government's boycott of multimedia and the subsequent banning of its journalists from covering all states' events. Well, as you know by now, that boycott has been lifted, as it were. It's ended. It ended sometime in the evening yesterday after the Ghana Journalists Association and the Independent Broadcasters Association called a meeting between themselves and the government, represented by the Information Minister and his two deputies, as well as the Deputy Chief of Staff, Valerie Sawyer, and then managers of Joy FM or Multimedia were also there. Now, I will first of all like to start with you, Honorable Deputy Minister.
You never called me by that.
I've never called you by that. Oh, but that's who you are. Okay, so yes. So I want us to do a little exercise, and I wish that we can do that briefly so that we can bring everybody onto the discussion. Sure. Now, when you made the announcement on Tuesday, is it? I don't know what prompted it. What prompted that official announcement on radio?
Okay, thanks. Let me begin from the point about a ban on all government activities. I am not shy about this decision. I am not shy about the fact that I announced it. Indeed, it was part of our openness, because you know what governments have done in the past and what government can do. We decided to be frontal about it.
Seriously, I don't know what you're referring to.
Well. We decided to put this in the public domain and to be open about it. I'm sure your own station would admit that, I mean, days before that, you've had quite some difficulty getting government officials to speak.
About 3 weeks before that.
Well, you have had some difficulty, and I thought that it was only fair that at the very least we will let your group and the good people of Ghana know why.
But how do you also feel about some people in government and even in the party defying those?
I am not sure that I'm not sure that anybody defied. But okay. That's why at some point I needed to make this rather frontal and put it in the open, to be open about it. It was a boycott. It was not a ban, and I've been quite surprised about these deliberate distortions and fabrications and words attributed to me in all of
Is it a distortion when you say that
not
if
something I'm going to
showed up at state events, they should be treated as gate
What
crashers?
we had done was to say that we were not going to participate in any program by Multimedia.
That's first point.
Multimedia Group. Subsequent to that, I had granted an interview to OKFM. That was in Akan. The question had been asked, and I had said that Multimedia, what it means is that we are not fighting the multimedia guys. However, we are not going to speak to them. That's what I said. This is what I said. The interviewer proceeds to ask, will you invite them to your programs? I said, if we are boycotting their programs, obviously you don't expect us to extend invites to them. Then he continues, can they cover government programs? And I said, every program organizer sends out invites. And I'm sure that if you don't have an invite and you go, perhaps in English, you could be termed as a gate crasher. So that is it. Let me start off from here. I think that the GJA... What did that mean?
What did that mean, that if they attend programs uninvited, they should be treated as
You know that
crashes.
In all these programs, even our national programs, sometimes accreditations are given. If you don't have accreditation, you don't go in. If you don't have accreditation, you go there, you are a gate crasher. You wouldn't, and what it means is that you will not be allowed to go. I mean, we've seen this time and again, international programs and all sorts of programs. Even for this Meet the Press and all these other programs we do, I'm not sure that the 400 or so registered newspapers are all able to fit into that room. So there's nothing. So what would
you say was supposed to be the effect of the circular to the MMDAs circular, that they should not grant interviews or have anything to do with the multimedia?
I'm hearing about circular for the first time. Indeed, only yesterday I heard somebody say there was a letter. Now I'm hearing a circular. No such thing. If anybody has that, let them produce it. We'll be willing to see.
There's supposed to be a circular.
There is no circular.
That is supposed to have been signed by the Deputy Chief of Staff, Valerie Sawyer.
Again, that is not true. That is not correct. And we have the benefit of television. So if you have a circular, just show it to the cameras and let the TV cameras capture it for the good people who are watching. I think that GJA, Ghana Journalists Association, and the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association have shown tremendous leadership in this, and I'd like to commend them.
James, before we get there, can we now come to talk about the basis, the grounds for which this decision was taken?
I have seen, again, well, yeah, I'm going to speak to that. I'm going to speak to that. Ahead of yesterday's meeting, the multimedia group itself had asked for a meeting with the council over this matter.
Is that so?
What are you talking about? And again, that's part of a distortion that even after yesterday you continue to put out there. You have asked for a meeting with the council. The council had directed that this is a matter involving the information ministry. They think that the information minister is capable of resolving the matter, and that is what happened. Your own chief executive, Mr. Kwesi Chum, 2 days earlier, had gone to the Ministry of Information at about 7 a.m. or before 7 a.m. to meet the Minister of Information over this matter. So I'm not sure that the sense in which it's as if you people were not in any...
gone there uninvited. Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm not sure he wanted to see the
Minister
of
asking.
Information.
He went there uninvited.
He wanted to see the Information Minister, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, so I mean, GJ, Giba have shown leadership in this matter. When this matter broke, and I'd like to deal with some of
I wanted to be clear on that. Have you found out from the minister? He invited the CEO.
Your CEO wanted to see my minister. My minister's business is to attend to those who want to see him. He obliged.
For the record, he was invited.
He obliged that request. Your minister, your chief executive had gone from one government official to the other, wanting a resolution to this matter, and there's no problem at all.
One government official to the other?
I mean, and there's absolutely no problem at all.
You want to let us into which government official he must have gone to?
Well, Mr. Kwesi Chum denied that. I don't think that it would be fair to put out something like that. If you push me, I will.
But I think...
If you push me,
but I think it is fair, though,
if you push me,
it is fair, though, to be fair to the fact that he was invited.
It is fair to the fact that he was...
various individuals.
It is fair to have a
meeting.
Samuel Kujato did not invite him. Koku Anyidoho did not invite him. There are many others he went to did not invite him. You want me to talk about this? I will. But now that is it. I have seen your press statement, which is a response to the myriad of issues we raised in ours.
You know, James, before you get to the response and all of that, I wanted us to deal with the issues. What's you know, the government, what is it that provided the platform for this decision?
We have itemized that in a press statement signed by the Honorable Minister for Information and released only 2 days ago at about 4 p.m. or thereabout. All of which we've catalogued. Your radio station has received it, in response to which you have done a press release, an obvious reply to our statement. Of a litany of issues we catalogued, you raised one issue, which was responded to. I get a sense that that's an admission of all the issues we raised. And you know that as a lawyer.
You know what? I am interested in.
You do know that. Something I think that you should give me an opportunity really to speak, because we're running out of time. Now let me deal with the substantive issue. When I'm done, you can raise all the other issues. When this matter broke, we heard all sorts of speakers on this subject saying that, yes, we've returned to the dark days. You see, this is the whatever, and it's a threat to free speech, media independence. Some even have said that it's unconstitutional. I totally disagree.
Okay, before we get to the constitutionality or otherwise, I was asking, you have raised issues. Can you take us through these issues that you raised?
We have raised issues. It's not as if the issues we raised we've not petitioned before. I mean, I mean, look, some of the guys here are friends, and but this was not about personal relations. It's about certain principles. It's about professionalism. So we raise certain issues, and if you go through our press statement, you will notice that these issues date back to as far as 2009. Some of which we've petitioned the national media.
And you issued You issued this about 3 days after you had gone on air to announce the boycott. And when you were announcing the boycott, what were the reasons you advanced? You advanced the reason of some developments at Asempa FM, on Asempa FM.
No, the Asempa issue is entirely up to you.
In fact, I have your recordings.
You can play that back. That's why I thought it would be important for me to look at this issue holistically, rather than to ask me to speak to this. Let me speak to the issue holistically within whatever time that you give me. And if I'm unable to address those issues... I feel that we can quickly look at the issues one after the other. So for example, you have itemized them. Look, you have itemized them. Can we take them one by one? You have itemized them. For example, number one, you speak about July 2010, your complaint that you made to the National Media Commission about a false publication that Joy FM made. Catalogued examples of
We've
catalogued examples of a Greta text. We've catalogued examples of the Amina Bass rape. We've catalogued examples of a news item on Joy FM claiming that the Vice President had bribed.
I would wish we can do that quickly.
We've catalogued another one about false report on the World Economic Forum, and we've catalogued the one about a supposed Dr. Bukari from Boku Hospital, in which the hospital authorities claim they didn't know any such person. You know, so
and unfair paneling and not giving you sufficient time.
We are not afraid of critical media.
James, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. Let's take the issues one after the other. You speak about false publication in respect of the news item that said that some Greda executive appears to have received a threatening text message.
It's not appears. You said they had
received a threatening text message. And you said that was false because one of the executives had come later to say that that was untrue. Is that the basis of the falsehood of that reportage?
You have the litany of issues stated.
No, I want us to deal with them one after the other.
The litany. It is here. You know, and you responded to it in this press statement.
No.
You're taking exception to a 10%.
So if you can explain it,
well, you just describe
as well.
In whatever.
Okay. So James, you speak about the alleged false publication from your perspective, that it was a false publication to have made in respect of the Greda issue. In respect of the Greda issue,
opinionated journalism being masqueraded as news. We've spoken about inaccuracies. We've spoken about unfairness.
Okay, when you're done, I'll give you some very simple explanations to some of those issues. And then we find out whether they were, for example, Greda, you said this was false publication. Now, you complained to the National Media Commission. Now, you haven't told us what the outcome of that complaint by the National Media Commission was. But when that publication was made and the Greda executive came to deny that they have not received threatening text message, I'm sure you remember what transpired subsequently.
Tell me. What
transpired subsequently is that you issued a rejoinder. Publication was given to SAME. The Honorable Alban Bagbin came on Joy FM and spoke the same thing, opportunity to react. He did same. And then there was supposed to be a charge of causing fear and alarm pressed against one of the editors then, Ato Kwame Nadazi. So I just want to clear that. Ato Kwame Nadazi, what happened? The police decided later on to do what? To drop the charges. Okay. Now, I think that one fact that ought to be made clear about that is that the channel was made available to you. You gave your responses. The parties involved gave their responses. Those who sought to deny that there were no text messages, the police sought to compel Ato Kwame Nadazi to name the source. And he said, I will only name this. I will not name the source. Take me to court, and I refuse to name the source on the pain of punishment.
Source. It was about the police saying that show us the people from Greda whose lives have been threatened so that we can provide them with protection.
Okay, you have been a journalist. You know that no journalist worth his salt would do such a thing as disclose such a source.
It was not about the disclosure
but the most important thing I wanted to put out is that
those whose lives were threatened, so the police could avail them of protection.
Okay, but the most important thing is that you had the opportunity of a rejoinder, right?
The matter in issue had nothing to do with the disclosure of sources.
But you had the opportunity of a rejoinder.
I am a journalist and a trained one at that. I'm not at any forum.
You had the opportunity of a rejoinder, and you did so.
I'm not at any forum going to advocate that.
Coverage was given to same, wasn't it?
Oh, I thought that you said I should speak to this issue.
Coverage was given to same, wasn't it?
What you should have done would be to give me an opportunity to speak to this. And if you thought that I was twisting the facts or anything, you come in and correct the fact. If, however, you have a rejoinder to issue to our press statement, I'm not sure, even if this is the platform, you've got to let this program take its regular format. You've got to let this program take its regular format. You brought the subject up. You won't hear me. And if you have a rejoinder, okay, then go ahead.
No, these are
rejoinder. When you finish, I can make a presentation.
These are matters that were dealt with as far back as 2010. And they were dealt with exhaustively and comprehensively.
Only yesterday we got a press statement.
You get this. You get this. Let me now make. I'll make this general point, and then we'll go on.
And then you give me an opportunity to speak.
Exactly, I'll do so.
Fantastic.
Now I will say that in respect, for example, also of the Amina Bas matter that you raised, we had taken pains to tell you that the Amina lady had been interviewed. She had been asked to produce evidence of a ticket on that bus. She produced it. Her mother also subsequently produced tickets. The police at Ejoso, the police commander was called. The police commander gave a confirmation before the story was carried. And in the diary, it was also discovered there was an entry of the report of the armed attack on the bus. So these matters had been sufficiently dealt with. And as we sit here, the matter is before the law court, isn't it? And it's being dealt with. Okay.
And the rape on that bus by armed gangmen.
So the matters are being dealt with, and the various rejoinders we're also giving, isn't it? Well, so I would just like to say briefly that on almost all the issues that you have sought to bring back, resurrect, as it were, had been sufficiently dealt with the appropriate rejoinders. On the World Economic Forum matter that you spoke about, it is a joy business report that was done when the producers discovered that an error had been made. They, on their own, did the correction and sought to get Hannah Tete to also give an interview to continue to help the process, even though she declined. Now, I like to say that in all of them, in all of the issues, they had been comprehensively and adequately, exhaustively dealt with, including even the recent Bobier matter that was brought up.
Okay. You are done?
Yes, I am done.
Okay, so now I can speak to the issue.
Good. Go ahead.
Fantastic. Thank you. Only yesterday we received a press statement from your office, Multimedia, in response to ours. Of the litany of issues, you chose to speak to one, which is about dividend payment to GBC. So I don't know what you are talking about. But you see, I think that we need
what's the effect of the response?
We need.
You got it wrong. So that's the response. You want to make that public?
We need. This is it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you said that word. You said in your statement that word.
So read it. You have it.
No, you have your statement. You said that.
I have said that we have issued a press release. You have objections to the litany of issues raised. Okay. Of the lot, you challenged one issue, right?
We have proved.
Of the lot, you challenged one issue on your official response.
You had initially suggested that
in your official
issue was not
in your official response.
The Bobier issue did not find expression on our network. You were wrong on that one. You got it.
We have raised a litany of issues. Okay. Officially, you have responded to us.
Okay.
It's signed by Charles Van Dyke, who is your business development manager, Ransford Ashon, management accountant, and this is copied to the Deputy Minister's Information, Chief of Staff, Deputy Chief of Staff, Chairman, National Media Commission, President GJ, President Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, and all media houses. I'm saying that in your reply to our press statement, you've spoken to one issue. You've made an admission of all the issues we have raised.
Which you got wrong, clearly, from the response.
And I'm saying that in all of this, when this matter broke, we had all sorts of voices about a return to dark days, a threat to free speech, media independence, and all of that. I totally disagree. I don't think so. There is nothing about this that is synonymous or tantamount to a threat to free speech or media independence. Look, we've even heard people say it's unconstitutional and all of that. As recent as October 22, 2009, the Obama administration had a similar problem with Fox News. They were asking them not to cover the White House. That is it.
It's captured the Fox reporter for the White House.
Again, in this, and you saw Miss Anita Dan, who's a White House communications director, saying that they were going to treat Fox News as an opponent of the administration. They would not let them cover. There's absolutely, again, nothing wrong with that. All these preacher men or preachers about free speech, threats to independence and all of that, and constitutionalism or non-constitutionalism, I think that is neither here nor there. We as a government are committed to a free space for the media to practice. Indeed, you will notice that under this year's budget, His Excellency the President has devoted 1 million Ghana cedis to the training and capacity building of media people. We cannot, and the very constitution under which we have our constitutional dispensation itself was promulgated under the NDC. So these freedoms guaranteed in the Constitution is not anything that anybody would want to take away. But I think that for a long time, all that you hear people say, and even when this matter broke, the voices you heard was all about, media freedom, media independence, and you don't hear anybody talking about media responsibility. There's also a corresponding obligation on practitioners to be responsible and to be accountable for their acts. Okay. This issue has nothing to do with critical media. I am not afraid to be criticized. I am not afraid to be insulted. Indeed, I think that when it comes to critical media, I'm not sure that anybody would say that your station is worse than, say, Oman FM or the other stations. But who has gone after them? Nobody. All we are saying, which we have made succinctly clear, is that we do not think that we should reduce the practice of journalism to deliberate distortions, fabrications, inaccuracies, and it appears that in this case, we've been told that, well, we employ about some 500 people in multimedia, they make mistakes, they can make mistakes. That sounds like a huge joke. Saints don't practice journalism. Journalists are bound to make mistakes, no doubt about that. All right. Clearly, when they make mistakes, there's also something that they do. They take that honorable path of either offering an apology, a retraction, or and steps like that. In this whole thing, we have not banned anybody. We boycotted. We do not intend to take over the exercise of editorial control or editorial discretions. Those are not powers that we can exercise. So that is, again, not the issue. I have heard some supposed independent persons. Maybe if you hold it there, and then I go around and then come back to you. Kweku, I thought that.
Kweku, I think that we should. Kweku, I think that in the discussion, we should be interested in moving it to the broader picture about the questions of fear of as it were, threat to press freedom.
Aberrations or perceived aberrations which occur in other jurisdictions, however democratic they are, would not constitute an excuse for perpetration of the same aberrations here, even though we may not be that advanced in our democratic consolidation exercise. I refuse to accept that rationalization. I think that it is demeaning and not fair to the good people of this great nation called Ghana. I'm not sure the argument has been to opening up, for instance, the presidency. Here we talk in the White House to every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the media. We've passed that stage. We debated these issues before. I remember Dr. Reku Brubi writing to Mrs. Valerie Saki way back, asking for access to the castle, and the response was that the castle didn't have enough space for the private media representation. Subsequent to all this, we had a situation where there was some balancing, but not all of us got the space. Has anybody complained today that the New Crusading Guide, Daily Guide, and the rest have no representations in castle? Nobody's complained. We accept those things. Yeah, but nobody has complained. You see, there are certain areas, perhaps you can't get full time. The system can organize a certain format, which sometimes can open up. President Kufuor came in, you remember, first time president of the Fourth Republic was meeting the media. It was something we had fought for a long time. We thought, okay, it could help. So there are certain things, even though we would wish, ideally, to have, we haven't had, and we haven't made an issue out of it. We are hoping that as democracy consolidates, as we move on, some of those rough edges will be patched from the system. What has happened now is a different ball game. I'm surprised that James is saying what he told OKFM is not exactly how we are seeing it. This morning, I asked for the voice to be emailed to me yesterday, and I've listened to it 3, 4, 5 times. And it was clear that what James said was to the effect that, look, yes, we will not invite them to programs. But if they showed up, they will be treated as gate crashers. How are gate crashers treated?
You are not allowed
to yes, public event, government event.
You are not allowed to go in. That's how gate crashers are.
But that will be denied access to the media. And it's not in it is not in tune with the spirit of this constitution, even the letter of it. Perhaps that is why some have proceeded to say unconstitutional. But it's not in the spirit of so many chapters and articles in this constitution. And the spirit of the times, that after all these battles we had to build a democracy, and within it, progressively to widen the frontiers of free expression and media freedoms.
And responsible media.
Yes, I agree. It's responsible and accountable media.
Sure.
But the cure for irresponsible and unaccountable media does not lie in a government deciding to place a boycott or a ban or whatever you want to call it on any media house. It's a wrong cure. That's the point we are making. So nobody, look, which media house in this country or elsewhere can claim perfection? And multimedia, you've had battles with all the governments that have come under the Fourth Republic. You recall Kofi Aboti's report from New York on Erika Martin about disclosure of some names of top government members as being recipients of drug money. You recall? And government protested and dragged you to media commission. That was fair. Giselle Yazi, the interviews that were granted to them by multimedia, that was multimedia doing what government felt uncomfortable. Okay, so up and down. What's wrong with that? The cure for a perceived infraction by the media is not what was applied. Look, I was scandalized that at this stage, when we've repealed criminal libel law, we've repealed seditious libel law, we've had presidents who have opened up the castle to meet journalists. Ghana is rated highly in terms of media freedoms, rated highly. And suddenly, such a retrograde grade action. It makes no sense. Look,
James is referring to the Fox News incident, for example, where the correspondent for the White House was being stopped until all the journalists decided that they will also not cover. Then they called him back.
Yes, we haven't developed that culture here yet. The competition is such that solidarity is a bit diminished.
All this talk about is unprecedented. It's the first time in the world.
This was an unprecedented and gargantuan gaffe.
But perhaps we are talking about two different constitutions, right?
This was unprecedented and gargantua in terms of its negativity. I'm surprised, you know. So I asked myself, was the president, I asked whether the president and the vice president were part of this decision.
And that's where I disagree with you. This is a government policy. Please.
No, you don't.
We have an executive president.
I asked.
So these attempts to isolate emails and...
I have not isolated.
Come to you shortly. So just hold it. I'll come to you shortly.
You have kept me out of this program.
No, I'll bring you on here. Don't worry. I'll bring you on. I'll bring you on.
That question is a legitimate question.
Oh my God.
And the fact that the two are silent on this matter, the fact that James is able to tell the world that this policy was representative of government position, what I'm suggesting is that it diminishes that advertised democratic media friendliness of the president and the vice. That is the point I am making.
Media unfriendly.
So Kobra is getting the thrust of my submission wrong. That's the point I am making.
All the media houses were practicing. Their multimedia platforms were on air. None of them were banned.
I'm told the International
Federation
of
banned.
Journalists, the Committee for Protection of Journalists,
None of them were banned.
All the big journalist associations in the world were worried about this incident. You see, when some of us, different media houses were dealt with by governments, there were single media houses. We don't look at it that way. We know of the potential for a domino effect. That was what this was about. So it is not the question of multimedia alone having been sanctioned, as it were, or boycotted by government.
In any case, I think some people have not even said that.
I was so
this
quiet.
whole idea...
James, just allow Koku to do... Koku, can you finish in 2 minutes? I need to come to Kwabena Japan.
At last.
You know, apart from the fact that many of the reasons they gave, I mean, all those things, assuming without admitting they were all missions and commissions on the part of multimedia, my point is that the cure they applied was wrong.
Okay.
That's the first thing. So that's the principle. Because there's no media house out there that is perfect and that wouldn't make mistakes. Okay? That's one. Many of the reasons, in fact, the principal reason James himself gave initially also turned out to be wrong. That you didn't cover the Asampa incident. And the question of the security of their reps. I heard a deputy minister of state claiming that he called the police. I am aware that it was multimedia that called the police.
Yes, we did.
I am aware of that.
So that was a falsehood.
But you see, what I found significant was, and he brought this, your response, the government decision, this one, multimedia would be the first to admit that if government had an agenda against it, we would not have true Social Security and National Insurance Trust invested in its expansion projects by buying multimedia bonds, or could have resorted to embarrass them in Ghana Broadcasting Corporation's 10% shares in which they are not up to date in dividends payment. I was surprised why government decided to bring these two things into this statement. And it's a hint of some very diabolical...
something called blackmail.
Yeah, it's a hint. I was choosing my words carefully. First of all, it turned out that factually they were even wrong on the GBC thing. Again, they got it wrong. 2009 and 10, dividends that have not been paid. My information is that the board of directors, which includes a GBC rep, had agreed that in view of the expansion, those dividends for those 2 years will not be paid. Everything else, including what he's holding here, shows that you're up to date. So there is serious, and it's serious for government to make that error.
The facts that we have from GBC, does not correspond
to this. The snitch one.
Do that quickly, please.
I thought it was straightforward investment by a body, a creature of law, SNIT, that has done many such investments. I am not sure government is telling us that it was in a position to tell SNIT not to do that and manipulate the SNIT board and management not to do an investment that they were sure and convinced would be beneficial to SNIT and the state. I am not sure. It's not good. No, James, I think that... No, I protest. You know what? I protest what James is doing. First of all, he's a journalist. 2, he's a deputy minister of information. 3, this is a very serious platform. So, we can all play games with how body language...
I've not said anything.
I've
not said anything.
I've not said a word.
But I've not said a word. I've not said a word.
I've not said a word.
I've not said a word.
Sorry, I need to move on.
I've not said a word.
Kweku was referring to matters, and you were surprised about the treatment, as it were. But you were press secretary to the president.
Yes.
Are you saying that it never came to a point where you had to contemplate that, you know, this particular media house is not doing government good, so let's get them out?
No, not get them out. There were very difficult moments. I mean, Kweku has given you examples, and I'm not going to go into that. And I remember in 1989, there was an old man in Kokomlemle, and I'll say this in local language, and I was just walking by, and he looked at me and said, Abrantie, Sinyankopon, Ishra no ma onkwa, obehu ani so wo Ghana. Because today, if James Ejenim Boateng of Radio Gold, now Deputy Minister of Information, is talking about responsible journalism, this is what we have fought for years. And I just look at it, because the man who sits on the right-hand side of the vice president, my own friend, Bafuboni, is the CEO of Radio Gold. And the things that Radio Gold has perpetuated in this country. Oh, not least just even making an announcement that people should take up knives and cudgels and attack us in the Electoral Commission. Oh, we are not in this country? These were statements that were made.
You have consistently spoken to this issue
You know,
pointing to
and
which broadcaster made this announcement.
Please,
it's not true.
please.
It's not true.
It's something that has happened.
It is not true.
Roger himself said it, that he's going to mobilize the people who will meet in the streets.
So which broadcaster at Gold?
If we are talking about responsible journalism,
it is not true.
look, this administration.
I am not afraid
look
to be
at
held
the stable of
accountable for my
newspapers.
broadcast.
Just hold on. We'll come
Look,
to you later.
I'm not surprised that's his posture.
I mean,
some people, I'm sure he's surprised to find himself where he is. So
I'm not surprised to be held accountable for my broadcasts.
I don't know what is happening
Your
to him.
people have consistently said this about Gold
James,
without
when you were
pointing to a
speaking,
broadcast.
we have the patience to listen to you. And you learn to be civil.
Come now, go on. Sorry, go on.
Okay.
James, just hold it. Just hold it.
Mr. Japan, you can go ahead.
You learn to be civil. I'm not pouring insults on you. Your posture is arrogant,
I'll come to you. James, I'll come to you.
You've been in government for only 3 years.
It's your business, Mr. Japan.
Okay.
You can insult me.
And nobody's insulting you here. But you should show respect to the people who are watching and those of us who are here, who are senior to you. Anyway,
which is what I do all the time.
To start this, if you look at the stable of newspapers in this country, count them. The amount that are in their stable, that they have put into the system, the Palavers, the Lens, the Catalyst, the Post, the Informer, many of them, Democrat, True Statesman, and the kind of propaganda and dirty tricks that they are putting into the system. Today he sits here and talks about responsible journalism.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Whichever way they try to dress this thing up, it won't change. You know why they've done this? It's because of the Bobia situation. I can tell you that propagandist tool that they were using in the afternoons to lie about our candidate, to say spurious things about someone who has dedicated over 35 years of his life to the service of our country. And they continuously did that. So I'm not surprised that today maybe Kweku Bako will not protest. But when we inherited the administration in 2001, I as press secretary made sure that all media houses, including the likes of Bruce Kwanzaa and the rest, could have access to the president. So today, if Crusading Guide, Daily Guide, Searchlight, and other papers are deliberately being disallowed from entering, there's something wrong with it, and we should say it. I've heard the Director of Communications, Kuku Anyido, openly say he will deny people, certain people over his dead body. You don't allow certain people to enter the castle.
Apart from the Searchlight, some of them are allowed to.
Apart from that, let me tell you something. I've been in the presidency for over 6 years. I've worked as press secretary. You don't do things on your own. So all the hypocrisy that is coming from the first gentleman of this country, he cannot pretend not to know that he's the one giving those instructions. You can't do that in an executive presidency. We've seen ministers of state, deputy ministers run down the chief justice, insult clergy, insult nurses in this country. So vitriolic in what they do, venomous in the things that they put out. It is symptomatic of this government. Very symptomatic of this government. I see Edun Ketia and the likes, the kinds of things that they can say. Mills,
you're being reminded,
said something that Mills is always Mills is silent on these issues. Mills is always silent. That is his strategy. He pretends not to know what is happening, turns the blind eye, and allows the brigade to descend on the people.
How do you reconcile that with what you are being reminded of this government being the first to have allocated funds for the improvement of the media, landscape, and also being the government that has so far shown, more positive commitment to passing of the Freedom of Information Bill? Positive commitment. We started it. Oh, you go through the books. We are talking about government that removed criminal libels, it issues libel, gave a place, a state property to the media, to the Ghana Institute of Journalists Association, and now that they have an international press center, the things that we have done for the media, theirs will pale into insignificance. They are naturally not media friendly, and they cannot stand the heat of media scrutiny. That has always been their style, and it will not change. They say that a leopard never changes the spots. You understand? So what they have done, and quickly try to change it and say they are now, is it un-boycott or what? But for it to happen in the first place, under the supervision of President Mills and John Mahama, who was a Minister of Communications, and people sit on air and ask whether they were part of it. In fact, if they are not part of it, it's even more serious to be in government and not being in control, which is what is happening. If they are not part of it, it's even more serious. The fact of the matter is the president has goofed. This talk about government communication team is a new lexicon in our political, language. Government's information is managed, one, by the Minister of Information and his deputies, or the press secretary or the head of communication at the council. People walk around and say they are members of the government communication. These are NDC propagandists. And I think we should call on the government to stop paying them from the state purse. The state cannot pay people who are doing the bidding of a party. If you work for government, you go and elaborate on government policy. You have people sitting on national television, national radio, say they are members of the government communication, and they are being paid fantastic monies. Collecting 3,000, 4,000, what do you say about journalists and media people who are also employed in the NPP era to lead communication?
Give me an example. Please give me an example. We had political appointees. If you appoint, he is now a political appointee. He's a media man, but he's not. If you appoint a political appointee, it's different. I'm talking about people masquerading. They've got many names, Brintio and some other people who have come out of nowhere, are now speaking on national radio, television, with very insulting language, degrading the quality of our politics in our country. And that is not what democracy and development should be. And they are being paid from the state purse. If the NDC can afford to pay them, that is fine.
Oh my goodness.
But let's move it there a bit.
Is Kandogbe not being paid by the state?
Let's move it.
They say they are members of the government communication.
To talk about somebody insulting, and you sit here and call the president a hypocrite. You see the double standards.
I said it's hypocrisy. Why? It's English language. Hypocrisy is hypocrisy. That's not an insult. It's a behavior. If the president is being hypocritical, we can say it's being hypocritical because your press secretary.
And you sit here and
look at the language Kuku used in Koforidia.
Nobody from the government communication team.
That is the highest level. In fact, his hypocrisy, Mills' hypocrisy is legendary. Kweku Bako has published these things. I have a list. This is the most expensive presidency we've had in the history of this country. Over 25 advisors and political aides, all collecting an average of 40 million a month. The list is there.
I was asking that.
This is not the first time.
If you could move it a little ahead, you are talking about the president and the vice president not coming public to make a statement.
They don't need to come public. They are part of it. It is their government.
We know of the vice president, for instance, who has written profusely about media freedoms, and what he's written, if you read,
please,
extensively,
action speaks louder than words.
Suggests that he's not a man who would endorse such an action.
Oh, then he should not be where he is. He's vice president of a government that takes this decision. Are you saying that they took the decision behind their vice president? That makes it even more serious. I don't want to hear this kind of talk, that something happened and the president was not aware. I've been in government and I know at a certain level, you have to refer. And I'm surprised that under the NDC, you hardly see their ministers of information, only the deputies. Where is the minister of information in all this? Where is he? You know,
Fritz Bafo is around. He's not speaking.
Well, they should come up front and see, we have a system of running this country. Please, let's not bastardize politics and administration and executive presidency. It is the president whose head is on the ballot.
Are the deputies appointees of government? Are they supposed to play a certain role?
I'm not saying that they can't play a role. I'm saying that it is very instructive.
What are the deputies supposed to do?
It is very instructive the way you can't find the ministers of information.
I'll do these quick text messages.
Yesterday, the minister released a statement.
You thought I wouldn't let you finish.
Okay, that's all right.
You are looking for the minister. The minister's position is clear in the statement.
All right. Kofi Adams, I'll come to you. I want to read a few of the text messages that I have here. You are on Newsfile. The time has been extended by 30 minutes. The time has been by 20 minutes, I understand. Now, this text message comes from Justin Papa Pencil. He says, welcome back, NDC. All disagreements must end in an agreement. Ghana wins. Ani Bwachua Anochi writes, why is James Ejenim Boateng fumbling over MGL boycott issues? Assuming the Obama Fox News thing happened, how does it make the government's decision on multimedia constitutional in Ghana? Nana Kweku Adomako Nyako writes, this is what happens when you attack credibility rather than issues. No wonder Mr. Ejenim is fumbling. Bernard Kowunu writes, we are making references to Obama's government. One thing I would like to know is whether America is using Ghana's constitution. Certainly not. And I will, in due course, be referring James to Articles 21, Article 162, especially clauses 4 and clauses 5, so that we have a little discussion on that. Nana Ama Mate writes, since when did we adopt the Constitution of the USA? Kojo Adams writes, James Ejenim Boateng, Fox News is an avowed enemy of the Democratic Party. Can you say the same about the multimedia group? If your decision was informed by the Obama administration's decision to boycott Fox News, then you are wrong. The premise upon which the White House made its decision and yours are not the same. You got it wrong. Kwabna Amwako says that, I just want to know who advised the NDC to rescind their decision to boycott. Jerry writes, the NDC must accept the fact that their 4 days boycott of multimedia was ill-advised, unconstitutional. If they knew how to dialogue when they didn't consider that option first, their actions have gone beyond their assigned limit. As if that wasn't enough, they went ahead and shot themselves in the foot by suspending Kofi Adams before the matter is investigated. What is wrong with our party, for Christ's sake? Samuel Aqua Young writes, comedy of errors. The NDC's Deputy General Secretary, Mr. Kofi Adams, has been suspended and his NDC membership has also been revoked. And yet, he is expected to appear before an NDC disciplinary committee. So, Mr. Adams is appearing before the committee as what? James Bowunu writes, Kofi Adams says he is not aware he has been suspended. When was the last time he went to his office as a Deputy General Secretary? And a very final one, George Mawenyaga writes, Nana Konedu should give us a break. She should have said this at the Congress long time ago. Your text messages are welcome to 1422 and 1760. Now, Mr. Adams, I have heard you suggest in very unequivocal terms that this was wrong, even though you belong to this government and the party. Why do you disagree?
I think coming back within a short time after the official publication indicates that maybe government itself have realized we should not have gone that far. I always believe that when you have options, I would not suggest that we go for an option that tends to placate us, such that in getting out, it becomes a bit difficult. Maybe we would have gone it step by step, as I indicated in the interview.
But they have brought up issues that they took before the National Media Commission in 2010.
I'm saying we all know how media situations are managed. My colleague here is a media person. Sometimes you do behind the scene lobbying and talking to, but I'm happy that a decision has been taken to come back. That is what is most important. Because you cannot afford to be a government and decide to move away from a platform such as this. Because look, whatever it is, we have many stations, but we're talking about dealing with a certain critical section of the population, and the multimedia have located themselves in such a way that they have captured that very critical nucleus that is needed to send information out. So I'm happy.
That doesn't mean that if they do things that someone feels offended by, they should not complain.
That is why we have complaint process. And I believe that's why you've stated that in the past, some issues have been referred to the Media Commission, which is established by the Constitution to mediate. If the Media Commission is not doing what is expected of it, I believe government in one way or the other can look at that process. And some colleagues of mine also thought that it was wrong. So they continue to appear on a multimedia platform. Well, our Deputy National Propaganda Secretary was here, I think, yesterday or so, even before the decision to come back was taken, because he feels he disagreed. He had appeared earlier, our national chairman, because also this was not a matter that indeed we deliberated also on. So until I was on this platform, that I started getting text from some persons that a decision has been taken not to appear on the platform. So I said, where was that decision taken? Nobody communicated to us. Our national chairman was on the show on Friday, and so what is this all about? And it was further confirmed on Tuesday on Radio Gold when we were having interview, to the point that even my colleague said, I have always disagreed with authority. Meanwhile, when the decision was taken, at least you should have communicated to us also. You don't communicate to us, then you blame us for even appearing on those platforms.
From the purported circular, the circular purported to have been signed that by Valerie Sawyer, which James Ejenim denies. Which James Ejenim denies. It was copied. It was supposed to have been copied to the General Secretary of the party as well as the chairman.
So then in that case, and the chairman was on your platform on Friday. The chairman was PM Express on Friday, and I came.
I want a little clarification here. The circular purported or whatever signed by the chief of staff,
deputy chief of staff,
who is a member of the government. I mean, the party begets the government, but it's not the same. The party can take a decision to boycott, or the government can take a decision to boycott. Maybe the government had taken a decision to boycott, but the party hadn't. You know, so I mean, we should not, despite the fact that it is an NDC administration headed by Mills, they are two separate.
But even on PM Express, Dr. Kobneje was here for a personality profile. I suspect that was in his individual capacity as Dr. Kobneje and a citizen of this country.
So I don't know, but all that I'm saying is that it was not communicated to us. If what you are saying is true, that James is denying that there's any circular, and I think I want to accept that there was no circular.
He was claiming there's a circular.
So if there was no circular, and that's what I'm saying, some of us did not hear it. So I was really shocked when I have to be attacked for appearing on a platform that I regularly appear based on invitations from the...
you were attacked?
Yeah.
In what form?
I was personally attacked on radio. And unfortunately for me, without even cross-checking for me, my colleague here also added to it. When he was interviewed. No, James,
Kofi, let me clarify that. So you want me to clarify that?
I heard you.
So let me clarify that. You want me to clarify that? Because you're not putting the matter in its proper perspective. I think that for you as a Deputy General Secretary of our great party, you should be the first to know that I do not commit party to what government does. My announcement, which even up to this point, I am not shy about, and I do not regret that announcement, was to the fact that government had boycotted the multimedia platforms. I am sure that you can strike a clear distinction,
James,
between what government is and what party is.
What I'm saying is that when Kobe spoke on that platform,
I think that
he spoke before
you've spoken to a matter that has to do with me. Yeah. Kobe is not here. I am here. I think I deserve a right to speak to the issue. When I was called on Radio Gold, just before you had spoken, the question was, your party's Deputy General Secretary, Kofi Adams, says he disagrees with the government's decision to boycott multimedia. And I said, that is Kofi Adams. He's always sounded discordant. Those are my words.
During the boycott.
Those are my words.
During the boycott, did you hear Honorable Alban Bagwin speaking almost on a daily basis on Joy FM?
No, I did not hear. But it was about Kofi. Kofi had just come ahead of me on Radio Gold. I was asked that this is what he said, that the government decision, this is his view of it. And I said, well, that is typical Kofi for you. Sounds discordant. And again, that is fair to the fact.
So his use of those words is what I take serious offense to, because one, when you took that decision, you should have told the public that when Kobe raised, earlier before you were called, Kobe Fiagbe, who had identified himself as part of the government communication team, had spoken and indicated that they have taken a decision, and I have appeared on this show with my NDC t-shirt and NDC colors and talking. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And you are called as a deputy minister who had issued that information, and your statement is that he's always been discordant, as you repeat it here.
Yeah,
so it means you go further to affirm what Kobe has said, that you had taken that decision, and I, as Deputy General Secretary, shouldn't have appeared here when you have not communicated to me. When you do that,
to you, you still suggested you didn't support it.
They have still did not communicate. And he himself is saying there was no circular. That's why he's saying there was no circular, that they have not communicated to us as a party. We picked it out there, and for some of us, we thought that it was a decision that should not have been taken. And that's why I'm saying I'm happy that government itself, within the shortest possible time after issuing official statement, have seen reason to renounce that boycott and ban, and have come back. And today you have a Deputy Minister of Information who was actually leading that crusade, appearing on your platform. That signifies. But I don't like situations of people give examples of things that may not be fairly right in other countries. I have always complained about this. When people have raised, oh, go to this country, you see this this person, this former head of state, he's not talking. This one is not doing this. So this one, so we should. I don't like those type of comparisons. If somebody decides not to do something that is right, doesn't mean that we should also go and copy that.
All right.
So I'm happy once again that this decision has, because a lot of people listen to the multimedia platform. You have almost about 8 outlets. The Insura, the Labs, the Asempa, the Hits Radio, the Joy, the My Joy Online, and all that. And so it's good.
That fact was not lost on us.
It's good that they have come. And it was going to be difficult to actually implement it. Let's face fact. It was really going to be difficult to keep to that boycott, looking at what was going on. But we shouldn't debate it beyond this misunderstanding and bring in so many things that people want to bring in. I really don't want to go.
Your Newsfile on Joy 99.7 FM. You are also watching us on your Joy News channel on Multi TV. This is Newsfile, your most authoritative news analysis show. Now, I want to tell you about the TTB's savings fact file. Fact number 1, a savings account is usually open for the purposes of keeping one's money safe, secure, and accessible at future date. Fact number 2, the value of money in a savings account should always be preserved over time. Fact number 3, if you spend less than you earn on a regular basis, you should always be left with extra money for savings. TTB's verdict is that to be prudent, you should always look beyond these basic facts of savings to find that singular savings account which gives you more than security and value preservation. TTB solutions include the TTB's Savings Plus account and the Kiddy Plus account, which guarantee you secure savings higher interest on your savings, instant collateral-free loans, low interest on personal loans, free life assurance cover for natural and accidental deaths, and free personal accident cover for temporary and permanent disabilities. For further advice on this and any savings-related products, call 0302-252-760 or contact any TTB branch near you today. TTB, a member of the EcoBank Group. Now, you're wondering how to secure your car or manage your fleet of cars? Worry no more. Introducing MTN Vehicle Tracking Service, a service that allows you to track or secure your car or fleet of cars every step of the way, wherever you go or they go. Day or night, near or far, your car or fleet of cars are never out of sight with the MTN Vehicle Tracking Service. The MTN Vehicle Tracking device is a must-have for all business and security concerned vehicle owners. Call 111 or visit the following MTN service centers: Accra Mall, Osu, Graphic Road, Medina, and Tema Community 6 for your vehicle tracking device today. So go on, track and secure your car today with MTN Vehicle Tracking Service. MTN Vehicle Tracking Service, your trusted car tracker 24/7. Life is always richer with MTN. MTN, everywhere you go. I'm sure you must have heard about Hisense by now. They are the best electronic products on the Ghanaian market. They are efficient, durable, and affordable. Their wide range of products include LCD and LED TVs, air conditioners, chests, freezers, refrigerators of different sizes and colors, washing machines, microwave ovens, toasters, sandwich makers, kettles, ice makers, and many, many more. They give you value for money. They give you pure quality. They are Hisense products. Hisense has just introduced the very first digital TVs in Ghana. Take advantage this Easter season and get yourself a Hisense TV with a 5-year warranty. For your free installation and after-sales service, visit Hisense showroom today in East Legon, Bawe Junction, adjacent Ghana Link. Call 0302-543-303 or 0277-803133. Hisense, innovation for life. And remember that your text messages are still welcome. 1422-1760. And I will now come back to you, James Ejenim Boateng. Now, you are saying that the flood of condemnation that has followed this announcement doesn't move you, and that you think that everything that was done was right.
Who are condemned?
For all the media analysts and political analysts that I know in this country who have spoken so far, I'm yet to hear of anyone who thinks that this decision was a good thing. And people have spoken to the Constitution, really, that this was illegal. Some have said that this was actually crippled at birth.
There are radio stations here in Accra, and I believe beyond, whose programming does not include political content broadcasts. Is that also an infringement on their constitutional rights?
I don't understand that.
Who are these people? You know, this morning, for example, when I heard on your 6, my attention was drawn to your 6 a.m. bulletin about how after condemnations from international and local sources, government has... I was like, well, the international sources are... Who constitute the international condemnation?
Fact or fiction?
Which sources are the international condemnations? I think that there's a certain cue which your station, for example, and the many others need to take from this development. Go back and listen to your own interviews on this matter. And go back and listen to the BBC's interview with me on this same matter and ask yourselves if you have been fair and objective in your reportage of this same issue. Go back. I think I've seen it on your My Joy Online website. I've not listened. I hope that is what it is. Go back and do a critical appraisal of your own conduct over this incident, your broadcast, your attempt to whip up sentiments against the government, and I found that rather laughable. When you say that from within, hold on a second. When you say that from within, there have been condemnations. Who are these people? Is it Professor Karakari? Now let me deal with that one for a start.
Professor Karakari, Mesan Maugbe, the CDD, and the list goes on.
Let me deal with the Professor Karakari issue for a start. Let me deal with the Prof. I can't speak to everybody at the same time.
No, I think we can take holistically what has been the response.
I cannot speak to everybody at the time. I'll deal with the Professor Karakari issue. This is a man whom, when I was appointed, came on your radio station to say that I was unworthy of the nomination. I have no difficulty with that. That is his opinion. I mean, I can tolerate such a view.
He's hiring you. It is his money.
But I'm not complaining.
It is his money that pays your fuel.
I'm not complaining. I've told you that I can tolerate such expressions. I can be as tolerant as can be. I called him on the phone.
Okay, you know what? I think that for fairness' sake, the good professor is not here. The good professor is not here to react. He's not here to react to the comments that you are making.
That comment about me. What he told me is to go and bring my broadcast content for him to prosecute me with it. I mean, so here's a man who can draw conclusions even before he has anything specific to point to. That is one. Now go back and look at Professor Karakari's own record.
No, I think
Professor Karakari in the PNDC days was the very person who banned all private newspapers and the editorials from being aired. Suddenly, he is the apostle.
The good professor is not here to be afforded the opportunity that you have. I think that we can leave out, the aspect that you are doing. Let's look at what he speaks about.
I can deal with Nanado.
He says that this is strange. That's Nanado has spoken.
I don't find it strange.
Nanado says this is retrogressive.
It is not retrogressive. There's nothing retrogressive about this. How many radio stations do we have in Ghana? Indeed, I am one of those who thinks that, to some extent, some people at the NCA, for example, and this is my personal view, not government view, I think that some people at the NCA have let this country down by overly concentrating media in the hands of one individual, two individuals, three individuals. I think that is a matter that perhaps in the future all of us may have to look at. Look, media tyranny is not just about, it's not a one-sided thing. It's not just about a government that may be chasing people around. You can have also the media itself become tyrannical. That is another fact that in all of this must not be lost on us. And if you will permit me, I think that I can speak to the Nanado bit. I think that there are more serious issues for Nanado to deal with.
Specific to this, he says that Ghanaians
are awaiting his response to his free SHS and how much it will cost. He says that when he comes back,
no, but can we keep to the subject?
He's yet to tell.
I thought that you were going to respond to his comments on the subject.
His BBC Hard Talk interview where he said a whistleblower is in jail. That is a statement that that is not a statement of fact. There's nobody under this administration. Nobody, as far as whistleblower, has been thrown into jail by this administration. That had been said by him on the BBC platform.
I thought you were responding to his comments on this subject.
Yeah, that it is.
He says it is retrogressive.
I don't think so. That is his view.
It smacks of a return to a dictatorship.
There's no return to dictatorship. Nobody was banned. We said that, look, given the circumstances, given our concerns, it's pretty difficult to honor a radio interview. It's pretty difficult to walk into your TV studios, as a result of which, instead of coming to you, we will go elsewhere. We may speak to other platforms. Where the ministers, deputy ministers, not speaking to media houses? Were they not having programs? Were all these things not out there in the public domain? Did you, all throughout these 3 or so days, did you hear proclaiming a ban? Nobody was banned. Did you hear any minister say that, well, I'm not going to speak to any question? Everybody has been speaking to their various sectors. So there's nothing retrogressive about this. And I think that there's a total distortion of the fact. As to this local and international condemnation, per what survey? Who are the people who are behind these condemnations? I don't think so. For me, I think that our decision was right. At the very least, we were open about it. I mean, we know what government can do, and we've seen them do it before. Go and ask Kwesi Pratt and his insight, whether in the 8 years or so of the MPP's administration, they got one single advertisement. Go and check Radio Gold. When the very government officials in those days were goading people, urging them to pull out their advertisements. So those are all options that governments can do. I am saying that even as we speak, and in those days, in those 3, 4 or so days that we said we were boycotting your platforms, did you have government business running and you people sit here and talk about a non-existent secular? I mean, it is not fair to the deputy chief of staff to create your own secular, which you're unable to produce, and yet everybody is running with it. When I speak to it categorically that there's no secular, what you say is that I have denied. Then what is there to deny? There's no secular.
All right, Koko, back to you again, and to the broader subject.
They received a text.
For you,
I didn't receive.
For you, the matter has been resolved, as it were. The GBA and the Independent Broadcasters Association called a meeting in which the managers of multimedia attended, and the minister and his other colleagues were in attendance. And we have a brief press statement that simply told us about the fact that it's been resolved. And so now there are no more boycotting. They are coming on. There are complaints about unfair paneling and all. It's over. They are coming on.
See, the quick fix to this whole thing is indicative of the manifest, futility of that so-called government boycott. It was self-inflicted, embarrassment. Unfortunately, it's not just the ruling party or government that was going to suffer. The nation, our image. You should ask the Ghana Journalists Association, which was one of the brokers of this impasse, this negotiation. They had calls from major international media organizations expressing concern. It moves from concern to condemnation and then downgrading of our media freedoms rating. And you mark my words, the next time the reports come out, these incidents will be listed. It's been so for all these years. We've been involved in this battle every time from those days, rather PNDC, NDC 1 and 2, and MPP 1 and 2. We've had ups and downs. Globally, I mean, if you put it together, we are making progress. That's why we are number 1 or number 2. But such things draw back the progress. So in actual fact, why some of us were concerned was not because it was going to have some damage on their integrity as Democrats, because they are part of the democratic competition, but that it was going to have collateral damage on our nation, our democratic credentials. So you should double check. You see, I'm surprised that 20-something years down the line, we have people in government who are not ashamed, who appear insensitive to the points we are making. It's amazing. I thought we had left that stage. So I can't believe it. And you see, my brother,
Kokube, they are talking about media responsibility.
Now I'm coming to... Oh, who says we don't talk about that? It's been part of GJ's and Pringpike's campaign for a long time. We've been doing it, indeed. Over the years, from the middle of 1995, we brought this up, media accountability and responsibility, as part and parcel of our code of ethics. But I'm saying there's no perfection out there. So please, let's not talk as if me sitting here, I've committed grievous errors in our practice. I'm not saying, I gave you examples of multimedia on the MPP administration, and earlier even the NDC too. You recall what the Rollins tape. They arrested people.
Albert.
Yes, Albert tape. So governments have had problems with various media houses. I didn't want to mention any other station. I'm talking of Joy because this is where we are. And if I'm wrong, you can defend yourself. But there are thousands of other examples out there. Okay? So that is what it is. But look, Newsfile, this matter, I heard David Annan, who has been talking plenty all over the place, referring to Newsfile and the composition of panel. For a very long time, you've always had 2 NDC reps here and 1 NPP, and then Kweku Baku. The regularity of Kweku Baku is now being questioned. I've been here, it's getting to almost 15 years. Because I didn't question, because I just anticipate, oh, they'll be saying Kweku speaks like MPP. And David Anna said so. So it was like 2-2 draw. That's what David Anna said. So he said MPP apology.
But the regularity of Kweku Baku is our discretion.
Yes, but it's being questioned as part of this whole so-called unfairness.
You should retire.
Me? Not yet.
But some of the MPP people have protested.
With this development,
people have also protested that development.
No, I'll be honest with you. With this latest development, some of us are up.
21 years ago.
I was saying that some of the MPP people, like Dr. Matthew Puku Prempeh, you know, says that you cannot represent them because you don't speak the way they would.
Because
want to
for
speak
instance, when it came to the 3 billion Chinese loan, I don't back the MPP position. When it came to STS, I didn't back them. So some of them felt uncomfortable that you don't speak. Critical issues like this, you didn't speak our language. Because I cannot speak their language all the time. We and I and many leading members of the NPP were in the trenches fighting for the widening of the frontiers of press freedom. So there's a certain coincidence of our views when it comes to these areas. Look, this development should not be underestimated. It should not. It's a very dangerous signal for the continuing democracy, the consolidation of our democratic experience. I'm surprised. You see, it's not good to personalize, but James is a media practitioner.
Through and through.
Yes. I've gone back to listen to some interviews he conducted and the issues that he was in charge of. It's not him you can blame.
All right, Kofu, we have very limited time now,
go ahead.
And I want to bring on
the $5 billion Kuwaiti oil scandal.
Now, Kwabena, to the extent that you say that this is clearly wrong and you subscribe to the position that this is also unconstitutional, how going forward?
I haven't talked about constitutionality.
Okay.
I'm not
right.
an expert in those areas. But
okay.
I know that it is not in going with the spirit of this country, the spirit of the times, the spirit and the letter of the Constitution.
So to the extent that that is your position,
again,
what should be done so that we don't have similar things happening?
Before we even go there, Kweku made a very solid point. And you see, James Ajeni Boateng used to work at, and I will say that, at Radio Gold. Radio Gold is one of the stations that benefited from media freedoms. And the leaders, those who fought, because we had the plurality of the media waves. Those who fought for it, the likes of Nanado, maybe you are still young, but if you remember Radio I was the first independent radio station that we tried to put on air. And we were bungled with military personnel.
Totally outside the law, right?
You know.
Because he didn't seek.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to stretch it.
You know, at that time, one of the issues that came up was
The question I was actually
I'm just making a point. That as a result of that, I'm making a point. As a result of that, the government woke up.
Yes.
And therefore, more people were given licenses. Joy got the license, Radio Gold got the license, and you then had the opportunity.
Vibe and then Gold.
Vibe.
So I know the history very well.
Yes, and so
Multimedia's frequency was questioned, if you recall.
I'll get to that.
Yeah.
This is not the point.
We don't have
the issue
much
here.
time, so
But
quickly. Yeah.
I'm saying that, see, people should recognize those who suffered. People died for this. I mean, the likes of June Skublenu, Michael J., Tommy Thompson, the struggles that we went through. And I remember President Kufuor, then candidate Kufuor, we had to bungle him into a taxi and run away from ACDR tax at the Parliament House.
He lost his watch.
They took away his watch. They beat us up there.
Maybe when you were bungling him unnecessarily.
We were trying to fight for media freedom.
Him unnecessarily.
We were fighting for media freedom.
You were bungling him
Professor Mills was in this country at the time. He was in this country at the time. We never heard of him put up a fight for media freedom. He never made a stand for media freedom. And I'm saying that people like James Ajeni Boateng, who had the opportunity to work on Radio Gold, benefited from that. struggle. And today, as a result of that, he's a deputy minister.
Okay.
They should show a little gratitude to the likes of Nana Akufo-Addo.
Sorry, but we have
and not to resort to running people down at the least opportunity.
Mr. Adams, 30 seconds. 30 seconds. How do you expect the NDC as a party to continue from here?
Oh, of course. We will.
His boy over his suspension, or
We will.
No, but
as
you
for
are
the
not a member.
suspension. Actually, that's why I treat it with pettiness, so they can go
Please
ahead.
do that quickly. Time is run out.
What you are talking about?
Okay.
He's only telling you about their intentions.
Thank you. Thank you
He's
very
only
much.
telling
Thank
you
you very
about
much,
their intentions.
gentlemen.